Welcome to the Twilight Lounge. This is Good for the Jews. We are the Jews. I am Larry Rosen.
I'm Mac Powerbook.
As always, you find us down here, but let me explain something to you first before we get started in anything real. Let me talk about something that was really bad for this Jew and why it took 2 weeks to get our last post. Mom, Sam, Kimmel, I'm sorry. What happened was I sat down to eat lunch and I had my... See, because I can't drink Coke every day anymore, because it's...
Why?
Because it rots... No, because of everything about it other than that it tastes awesome. It's really bad for you.
Oh, it's bad for you.
And it makes you fat.
Oh, well, yeah, I forgot you're a
You don't worry about fat.
I forgot you're an athlete.
Fat is a big thing in my life that I worry about. So I stopped drinking Coke a while back, just drinking water, but water really boring. And I drink so much. As everyone who listens to this podcast knows, I drink a lot of water.
8 glasses a day.
More, actually. But it's so boring. It's so boring. So I said, well, here's my solution. I went to Safeway and I bought these chemical-laden, carbonated flavored waters.
Which is better than Coke.
In the sense that it has no calories.
Okay.
So
unlike Diet Coke.
Which is nasty.
Okay.
I had a friend back in my motorcycle days who used to buy old motorcycles and unstick carburetors by soaking them in Coca-Cola for a month.
Yeah, okay. Another reason Coke's bad for you because it's got other practical applications in the world engineering and
right. Anyway, so I sit down the other day, ready to go over our recording. Posted. It was a Tuesday. I was ready to roll. I have my nice big glass of the horrible fake soda. Yeah. Which some might call bubbly water. Some who aren't me.
Carbonated.
Carbonated.
Right. I get it.
But the cord... The power source cord in my computer is somehow wrapped around. So I go to move it, boom, the whole thing spills.
Oh,
do you ever remember the old Saturday
That's what happened.
Do you remember the old Saturday Night Live sketch, The Pepsi Syndrome?
No.
They spilled a Pepsi in a nuclear power plant and the power plant melted
like the
down.
China Syndrome, I get it.
So it spills I mean, this is a full glass of fake soda.
You soaked your machine.
I got up immediately and got towels, paper towels, any kind of towel I could think of. Wiped it all up, right? Mad and more worried about the dining room table that we had refinished a few months ago.
Well, of course.
Yeah, so I get all that up and the floor and it's on the chair and I'm mad. I'm angry.
Right.
Let's
You're
just
stamping
say
your feet.
Let's just say if you were to characterize me in a word, I'm angry, but I think this is where it ends, right? Oh, okay.
Right, okay,
What a pain in the neck.
Well,
and I need to get another glass of fake soda.
But you know, your quick response probably saved the day. You saved the tabletop. You saved the floor.
Probably
your wife's not going to bust your chops, right? You did a good job.
So I sit back down and I start, I'm sitting there eating my lunch and surfing the web, and then I start working on the podcast.
Right.
But as I'm moving, you ever seen like a sci-fi movie where people are sort of projected as holograms and they seem like they're there, but they're sort of...
Right. Yeah.
So that's what the screen is doing. A little zzz, and I'm like, that's
Princess
weird.
Leia in Star Wars with R2-D2's projector.
And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. What's going on? And I thought, God, Goldbrener was screwing around with my computer.
Help me,
and now it's
Kenobi.
And then all of a sudden, it doesn't just turn off. It goes pop.
And it made a sound.
Every color of the spectrum appears on the screen.
Oh, no.
And then it goes blank.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, and I went, and I tried to turn it back on.
Gee, I wonder if that
I still hadn't put it together. I'm like, maybe my battery, and then I got,
it smells kind of burning.
Holy cow,
yeah.
bad. And I listen, shh, the computer's going, shh.
Yeah, right. The thing to do would have been to immediately unplug and turn off the machine as soon as you soaked it.
Really? So I'll know next time, because its odds are pretty good I'll do this again.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know where this is going, but I suspect it's not leading to Coke would have been a better solution to pour on your machine.
I don't think I don't think the type of I don't know
that wasn't the problem.
Though I liked it when the guy at the Apple store would make me go, grape soda.
Yeah. Okay.
So here I'm thinking like, shoot, I wonder if I killed my computer.
And you're still wondering at this point.
Right, and I call my wife and I say, I think I just killed my computer, and I explain, I spilled something. Go to the Apple store right now.
Right.
So I go to the Apple store, and as I'm driving to the Apple store, it occurs to me that I've never learned how to back things up. And it occurs to me what's on my computer.
Yeah.
2 books.
Yeah.
A journal I've been keeping for my son since the day we heard his heartbeat in the womb.
Right.
Podcasts.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Everything. So basically, my life is on the computer.
Well, I'm sure all your financial shit's on your wife's computer.
Yeah.
So,
but
all you're talking about is basically your creative output.
But all our pictures from Italy are on there. And I said, and I do actually think in terms of legacy sometimes. And I think,
there it is.
Well, that's all I really did. I mean, I raised a child and I wrote stuff. And that's it. And if they take away the right stuff, the kid doesn't really like me very much sometimes. So what'd I do? So I'm thinking about this, and I'm trying to convince myself as I'm driving to...
No, it's not a problem. It's going to be okay.
Well, as I'm driving to Stonestown...
They just put another penny in the fuse box, and it's going to be fine.
I'm thinking, no, this will be good. A fresh start. That's what I need.
For sure.
As I'm thinking, I wonder if anyone still has a copy of that book I spent 3 years writing that I haven't published yet, that I sent to someone. I'll have to call Steve Kaplan and say, Steve, send me back the file I sent you. Anyway, so I'm thinking about, get to the Apple Store, long story even longer. They open the computer,
like, whoa!
And a bunch of grape soda falls out.
They open it and it pours out.
Pours out. And
that's not funny.
No, it's not at all funny, but that's the computer. I'm looking at it right now and look at it working, humming away.
Wait, all of that happened with this machine was they poured the soda out and turned it back on?
No. They
replaced the motherboard.
They did, but then there was like a 15-minute terrifying period where they went to see if my hard drive was intact.
Yeah, it's intact.
It was intact. But let me say this. The guy said, oh yeah, the soda didn't quite get to the hard drive. When I first got there, of course you can't just go into the Apple Store and talk to someone. You got to get an appointment.
Oh, you got to sign up with the genius.
So one of the geniuses tells me our earliest thing's tomorrow, or you can sit around and wait for an hour. And I said, well, I tell him what happened. I said, will it make a difference? He's like, no, come back tomorrow. So I go, I'm walking around. I do what I do when I'm frustrated. I go get some ice cream.
So why don't you say an hour? Why'd you wait a day?
I didn't. As I'm eating the ice cream, I'm like, screw this.
I want to know. The ice cream's counteracting the grape soda, the diet soda in the first place.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't get frozen yogurt?
No, it was frozen yogurt.
Jesus.
But I eat frustration. Anyways, I figured, you know what, I want to know right now if my life's work is gone, so I'm going to wait an hour.
Right.
So I waited an hour. Anyway, they took it away for $775 you see, essentially a new computer.
That's fair.
What's amazing is, look at the condition of that thing, because it's beat the crap out of before I took it there.
They took your hard drive, which got all your data out of your old one. They stuck in a new machine.
You think it's a new one?
It's either a new one or
it is a new one because it was there was like a little crumble on the side there where I dropped it.
It could be, it could be the case. It could be a bunch of pieces that had previous life.
It's Frank and Mac basically.
Well, they're all the same pieces. They all go together.
Right.
It's refurb.
So it's like it is a Mac. It is an old Mac in the same sense that some guy buys a frame, puts a Harley Davidson engine in and says, this is a 1964 Shovelhead.
Right, or, he blows out the carburetor and gets one from the junkyard and rebuilds it and puts it in.
Right.
Okay, so
anyway, that's why it took a week of my mom and Sam and Kimmel wondering, when is it going to happen?
Right, yeah. Yeah, they were texting me, they were calling me, they were plotting their besides themselves.
It was weird. It was...
And in fact, I told your mom, Larry spilled his soda into his computer, and she freaked out. Larry's drinking soda?
Yeah.
Is he out of his mind? I said,
just
to
like
make
his
it
father,
worse,
he's
he ate the
drinking
ice
giant
cream.
things of diet soda.
Okay, so what did you implement a backup routine now?
Well,
actually, control of the situation.
So I went home and I told my child, the home IT department, and of course he flights a fancy. Oh yeah, well here's what we got to do.
Right. Yeah.
Half an hour later, I'm nodding off. So all I've done is I took a stick, one of those thumb drives, and downloaded what was important.
That's right.
Everything else I don't care about. In fact, when they were like, oh, there's a lot of crap on there you could get rid of, and I wouldn't care. Just there's a few things I need.
No, but you need your books.
Right.
Right.
I got my books. I did my journals and my books. That's basically all I did.
You need to store your creative work.
Right.
Okay, and you should. The best practice is to have triple backup. Right. What you want is this machine to be automatically backed up to your backup device.
Which is what? That's why I never backed it up.
In my case, I got the airport device. It's basically a router, a wireless router, and a hard drive. And when my computer's idle, the computer backs up to that drive over the wireless. It's really
so you don't have to actually do it.
Don't have to do anything. It's all built in. Good. You could get that. The software is built in.
What about the cloud?
And what about the
we don't
cloud?
like, but the wife and I, we don't like the cloud. She hates the cloud.
Forget the cloud. You have your own device and Wi-Fi. Yeah, I don't like the cloud either.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the cloud when I'm in business and
But
the
if you're in the
company says we're
cloud,
gonna
can
go
only
to the
you
cloud.
access your stuff? It seems like it's just up there with everyone else's stuff.
How long have you been living in America? Don't you know NSA can access all this
Well,
stuff? They're reading
I know,
your.
unfortunately.
You call them, say, "Hey, I deleted my book." They're like, "Oh, we got a copy right here."
Do you actually
And, and it's been redacted. And there's some points that
Let
we
me
want to
ask
ask
you
you
this.
about.
Do you actually have stuff you don't want the NSA to see? You might.
Oh yeah, I don't want them to see
care.
me naked.
Well,
Let's
I
mind your own
don't care
business.
if they see me naked. They might
Well, you
be
work
kind of
out.
grossed out. Well, I'm still a little heavy though, but
Well, yeah. I mean, there's
But I
there's
mean,
a
I don't
couple of
have-
maneuvers I got. I'd rather keep.
I don't
quiet,
have
You know?
date. There's nothing about me. I haven't done anything.
Yeah, I know. I don't care, but I'm still.
I really don't care if they have my phone
If you're not doing
conversation.
anything wrong, you have nothing to hide. It's like that's BS.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I know you don't follow sports, but you got to know what's been going on.
The
racist guy, right?
Oh, the racist guy. Yeah, $2.5
yeah.
million fine.
Kicked
Threw
out
him
of that, threw him out, making him sell his team.
Here's what I don't understand. Was he like on the court, calling someone
that's
a
why-
name and berating him?
That's why I bring it up, because
Or
you
was
say
he
if
like,
you got...
talking to his son? He said, "Oh,
Okay, here's the
that
deal.
Chinese drivers suck, man."
Here's-
Here's
Here's the story, and this is why I bring it up, because you said, if you got nothing to hide, you shouldn't care, or maybe you should care. He obviously did have stuff to hide, but he was taped without his knowledge by his girlfriend. So I don't know why she was taping him, but she was taping him. He didn't know. He was just talking to her in the privacy of his own home, as they
talking dirty,
say.
talking.
No,
or-
talking racist stuff.
So it wasn't like a sex tape.
No, it was just he was mad because she posted a picture on Instagram of her with Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
That is really the lesson of this whole thing. You just don't screw with Magic Johnson if you're involved in basketball.
I wouldn't mess with Magic Johnson.
I wouldn't
Was
mess
he,
with.
like, 7
Why would you
feet
want to
tall?
mess with Magic Johnson? He's
Can he
so
bench
nice.
press like 400 pounds? You don't mess with them. I mean,
Probably.
a guy can throw. How much does that ball weigh?
Yeah, so this guy was mad that his girlfriend, and now they're like, "What? Was she really his girlfriend? She looked kind of like one of those, she looked like someone who you open up Twitter and there's someone following you never heard of, and it's her, it's some
Yeah.
girl. That's what she looked like. He's 81, she's 30.
Oh, so girlfriend, a.k.a.
Girlfriend. He has a wife
prostitute,
too.
Consort, concubine.
He bought her a bunch of
handmaid.
stuff.
He bought her.
Basically, he bought her. And for
I
some
understand the
reason,
relationship.
she was taping this conversation of him saying, "You shouldn't hang out with black guys. Don't bring black guys to the games. Why would you have your picture taken with a black guy? That's ridiculous." That's what he said.
Wow.
I see consternation on your face.
Well, I'm just thinking, who gives a shit? You shouldn't hang out with black guys. You own a basketball team here. You make money off the backs of
on
these
many
dudes?
levels.
Okay.
This is good. I'm really excited because I've been listening to sports radio nonstop for the last 4 days, and I was like, when am I going to get my chance to talk?
Well, this is it.
This is my
baby.
chance to talk. Okay, he does have, a long history. He was convicted for, he's a real estate mogul.
Yeah.
He was convicted of discriminatory practice. He wouldn't rent to black people or Mexicans.
He's a bigot.
He's a bigot.
Well-known bigot.
Well-known bigot. Bad guy. Horrible owner.
Lousy person. No one likes
Lousy
him.
person. The worst owner in the history
Cheating
of
on his
professional
wife
sports.
with
Cheating
okay.
on his, the worst owner. This is the part
And
that
this girlfriend's recording him because she wants to get him.
she
Because
wants
he's a
something, right?
bastard. She wants
Right.
something.
She wants something.
And now she got it.
She got it.
Okay.
I don't know if she got what she wants because now
Well,
she's
she
hiding
got
from
something.
the press. She got
him
something.
on the hook.
But here's I think the fact no one's talking about is the worst owner in the history of professional sports. And
Why,
I think
did they win? Or is he a loser?
they win now in spite of him. But
Then he's not
they've
worse.
lost forever.
No, they's loser.
He's cheap. He's just a really horrible owner. But I think maybe that might have been like, oh, thank God, now we can kick him out.
Oh, so it's a pretext to actually make a business move.
It might be. But so
Well,
in
who
this
kicked him
case,
out? I mean, he's a
well,
owner.
here's what
How
they
did he get
did.
kicked out?
That's a good question. Because in basketball, the NBA, in its bylaws, there's a rule that if 3/4 of the owners vote to kick someone out, to force someone to sell his team, he has to sell his team.
Oh,
Now, I don't know how...
Oh, interesting.
Which is kind of weird. So this whole thing, so the commissioner comes on and everyone's threatening to boycott. The players, the fans, everyone in the world. Nobody has this guy's back.
Right.
He must be a horrible guy.
Right.
Because plenty of guys say crap and people have their back.
Yeah, even Mel Gibson. You know.
Yeah, even Mel Gibson.
And you got all these Jewish producers saying,
Right.
Mel's not so bad.
Right.
He came to my Seder. Listen, he was
And
drunk.
Even I turned on conservative talk radio to hear, but they don't have his back
Right.
either. No one has this guy's back. The best they can imagine is, well, lots of people are racist.
Hey, well, then screw him, man. The guy dug his own grave. Now he's
Dug his own
down.
grave, but they can make him sell his team because of what he said?
Well, if you sign up for an organization, you sign a contract, and the rules of the organization say if 3/4 of us are against you, we can force you out.
That's a really good point.
You signed up for it. Doesn't matter if you accept their rationale, you think it's right. You should be able to throw me out because you don't like the way I dress or something arbitrary like that. I'm a racist. That's my business. You can't throw me out for that. Oh, yes, we can. 3/4, you agreed to it. 3/4 of us say you're such a lousy SOB, we don't want to associate with you.
It's kind of interesting, though, because
you're out.
But by the same token, like, as a private property owner, couldn't he rent to whoever he wanted?
Well, no, because in the United States of America...
Because there's laws on the books?
Right. In the USA, not because there's laws on the books, it's a principle. It's a fundamental principle.
No, I'm not saying it's not wrong.
I'm not saying whether it's wrong or right. I'm saying there are protected classes of people where you cannot discriminate against someone based on their gender, ethnicity. Oh, well, you can correct myself. You can discriminate based on gender. That's legal.
Still?
Yeah, there's no equal rights amendment for women. There's no women's
ERA
protection.
for those of you not around in the 70s.
But you cannot discriminate based on color of skin, religion,
I always wondered,
language.
I always wondered how they could tell that you were discriminating.
Disability.
Like, would they have to have a pattern? Like, this guy is not... He owns, a bunch of apartment buildings in East LA, and he won't rent to Mexicans. Right. Obviously. Duh. Who's looking at these apartment buildings?
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't seem like very plausible, but I suppose
in real estate, actually, there is a law in the books. It's called redlining. Because white flight was not an accident. It was realtors, in part, telling people, you don't want to live there.
Right, yeah, get the hell out of there.
I'll show you someplace else.
Right, I'll show you nice.
Of course, I couldn't imagine, sitting in that real estate class all those years ago, I thought, there's got to be a million ways around this if you really wanted to do this.
Right, when you say there's a law, what I want to know is a law where? Is it a federal law?
Yeah.
Because anti-discrimination laws are federal laws that apply to the whole country. Usually real estate laws are like,
I think it's a federal law. It's a federal law. And I think the reason why they could take this guy's team and banish him over something he said ostensibly in private is because it's not a court of law.
You know what's ironic here?
What?
You got 2 Jews and no lawyers.
Ha! I know. Help, my son the lawyer's drowning.
Yeah. Anyway, you know what? I don't know. Personally, I feel like... I don't believe... How do I put this? Personally, I think that there should be somewhat of a distinction, or I make a distinction between someone's private life and how they conduct themselves privately and how they conduct themselves in the workplace. So if I'm working at a company, there's one recently, a CEO of some company in Silicon Valley,
harassment,
domestic abuse, something like that.
Outside of work.
Outside of work.
Okay.
And they fired him from his position in the company, something like that. I don't know all the details. And, I'm not taking a position on that case, but in my opinion, companies where I work, if I had a colleague, I really respected this guy. This guy was, VP of research, a major global intellectual, major global scientist. This guy's big, patents and inventions. This guy's very important running a hundreds of millions of dollars organization. He was the man, And I don't know why I left the company, but I remember Googling him and discovering I had all these domestic battery charges against him. Now, do I care? Do I think a man is innocent till proven guilty? I do. If a guy's a bigot, do I care if he's not, harassing? Yeah, I care. I'll take note. But will I not do business with him?
Well,
I don't know.
It's funny because that's what I thought. So there was a big call on the league to do something to this guy, right? And I thought, well, okay, the league could do what they want. Force him to sell the team and make $1 billion, or players and coaches could just decide they don't want to do business with him anymore.
Yeah, but how realistic is
that? It would take a long time, but they could say, I'm not going to coach for this guy. I'm not going to play for this guy. No, it's not that far-fetched because there's a bunch of factors that go into what would make free agents sign with a team. For the longest time, the Warriors couldn't sign anyone because they were poorly run.
Yeah, but if you're signed for the team, then you're already on contract. You can't just go out on strike because you don't like the boss.
You could just play it out, and then no one signs. It's just how it would take a few years, but eventually he would.
Yeah, but if you're a player, are you going to bypass your opportunity to get a job and miss your opportunity?
Well, that's the point. No, these guys will get signed by their teams. The point is that there'll be some idiot who's like, "Screw it, I'll play for him. I need the opportunity."
Exactly.
You're probably right.
And then the fact is, look, if the guy is such an offensive SOB, and his comments were so offensive to the majority of the NBA, which, let's face it, a lot of those players are black.
Yeah.
And I'm sure coaches and everyone. You know what I mean? If he just offended them all and no one's got his back and they forced him out and there's no one to defend
There was
him,
nobody defending.
it's like, it's fair.
But that's what I think, too. Like, what made me the angriest about this happening was just, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I'm sure maybe it's happened. I don't know it. But the guy who signs my checks. What if the guy who signed my checks, who wooed me, who talked me into signing with this team, turned out he hated Jews? You know?
Yeah. Well,
turns out I
what
hate
would
Jews.
you do? Or
I got to go to this clown every 2 weeks and get my check from this guy I know who, hey, he'll pay me.
Well, see, what I say is that's good for the Jews. Because, look, we're not little people who demand that you like us. You don't have to like us. You don't have to respect us. I don't care. We're equals. We're standing on the world stage as equals, and I'm here, and as a worker, I'm Jewish, big deal, man. I'm here, I'm offering you quality service. I believe I'm the best in the marketplace, and you're going to pay me what I'm worth.
And I don't care what you say about me.
And I don't care if you like me, and I don't have to like you. We got a professional relationship here based on, our... What we're bringing to the marketplace.
I mean, the Clippers coach, Doc Rivers, is this very erudite, very respected African-American man.
That's why they call him Doc, right?
And the pressure on him, and he's in the middle of a playoff series, and after game one, this all goes down. And people are saying, boycott the team, the team should boycott.
He's the coach
for this guy.
Right.
And so...
Well, he's got to stay focused on the game.
Well, the next day at the press conference, there's no questions about the games.
Right, we're here to play
I would just
basketball.
been so angry, like, great, let me do my job. Thanks, owner.
Yeah.
And plus, I would have said, if I was Doc Rivers, who jumped teams from the Celtics to the Clippers, I would have said, what did I do? My God, why didn't I just stay in Boston?
Yeah, maybe so.
Noted tolerant city.
Maybe so. I could see it. The guy's probably under pressure and all that, but I think the right thing for a guy in that position to do is to stand up and say, I'm here to play basketball. We're
that's
focused
exactly
on
what
the
he
game. And I understand there's business.
But, he also did that was great, too. I mean, he acknowledged, there's something going on. It's a huge distraction. But here's what we need to talk about, and here's what we need to know. So many people have handled themselves really well in this, but not all.
Tell me about some of the bastards.
Here's the punchline.
You can give a couple other people credit, but then let's rip some folks up, man.
Here's the punchline, and why I would bring up Donald Sterling.
All right.
Because he is, of course,
a Jew.
Yes.
Oh, so he's like Bernie Madoff. He's a shanda for the goyim.
For the Jews.
I
I looked for the most progressive website I could find. I Googled Donald Sterling Jewish. The most progressive website I could find, the second comment was, this isn't about white people, it's about Jews.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The second comment.
Boo.
It's about Jews. Old Jews. Thanks, Don.
I think if you were to look at, the history of African Americans in America and their alliance with the Jews, there's no question that the majority of the Jews support African Americans in their struggle to be equal members of society and to be financial successes.
Do you think that
educated and so forth? It doesn't mean you have to like them again or hold hands or intermarry or whatever.
But hasn't there historically also been a lot of friction between African Americans and Jews?
Yeah, I think there's political friction, which there was a rift in the relationship. The relationship was strong in the '60s and civil rights movement and all that. But there's a rift. I mean, let's face it. The Jewish support for the African Americans was coming from liberal Jewish intelligentsia, the so-called New York, right, which really have socially nothing in common with the poor Southern blacks who were the ones who were being discriminated
against. It was patriarchal.
Against. Yeah,
it was like, we're going to help lift you
pedantic,
up. Right, we'll help you.
But it was the morally correct thing to do.
But there's also, some of the friction. I mean, you look at music, and in this case, entertainment and basketball, Jewish guys holding the purse strings.
That's what some of the black radicals would say is like, you're exploiting us.
Right.
But this is something I always get back to. It's like, again, I'm a libertarian, and you can take that commie bullshit and stick it in your pipe and smoke it, right? What I'm thinking is, hey, if you think giving you a job, recognizing your talents, giving you a job, giving you the opportunity to capitalize on your skills, putting you on the world stage, allowing you to go out and be a free agent. Hey, man, this is an at-will voluntary contract we've got. If I'm not doing good by you as your manager or your team owner or your producer, whatever, You were free to fire
Well,
me
but
and go find
I think
someone
a lot
else.
of people felt like the guys in power were ripping off the guys not in power.
Yeah, but you know, it's like I'm not such a power broker guy, but I have been in both seats
And
to a
there's-
limited degree. And I can tell you, when you hire someone, you know, you try to pay them fair wage. Some guys like to squeeze the people they hire,
Yeah.
get the most work for the minimum dollar. Other people respect them and say, here's what I think you're worth. Here's what you're worth to me, and make a fair... Whatever, man. You know, you always get unhappy when you're working for someone and think, you know, I'm giving it my best, and all I wanted was my kid's birthday offer, and then you get pushed out of shape.
Yeah.
So that
But so-
dynamic always exists.
So
at that point.
one of the of course, inevitably, someone referred to Donald Sterling as
The Jew, Donald Sterling.
no, as a slave owner.
A slave owner. Yeah.
Having
How mu-
slave
how
owner
much
mentality.
How much did that Doc erudite make?
A lot,
You know,
millions
like
and
mil-
millions. They all make
they
millions
all
and
make
millions of
millions
dollars. Yeah.
Okay. And the,
But
the
I can
people who
kinda-
work in the
I don't
stadium
know,
and all
man.
that,
I mean,
they're all
I
in
can kind of see if
unions,
he's
right?
just like, these are my subhumans. If he goes in the locker room, as is reported, and says, look at all these beautiful black bodies, he may have a slave owner mentality. He may
Maybe
not
he
be
does.
functioning as a slave owner.
Maybe he does, but he's not. But
And
but
then
I
they-
will remind you, slave owners went to a marketplace and bought human beings the same way you'd buy a horse, and they kept them in barns just like
Well-
you'd have a horse, and they fed them the pig guts.
But I
'cause
mean,
they
but,
wouldn't feed them
but
real
you
food.
may be talking about, degrees of gradation. If I say, the old joke, like, will you sleep with me for $1? Or no, will you sleep with Brad Pitt for $1 million? Yeah, would you sleep with me for $1? What kind of woman do you think I am? Well, we already established that. We're just negotiating price now. Like,
well,
Donald
that's
Sterling
more a
is
question like,
the-
what kind of man do you think you are?
No, Donald
But
Sterling is the owner.
he owns the team.
He
doesn't
bought
own
these people's contracts.
Right, they are employees of the team.
Yeah, well, they're kind of contractors.
They're contractors.
Yeah.
They're employees. They work for the team.
Anyways, they released the full tape enough that we got to hear Don say that in Israel, blacks are treated like dogs. Thanks, Don.
No, I don't think that's true. I mean,
Oh, according to all those commenters, that is definitely true. They dose Ethiopian women with something to make them sterile so they won't have kids.
that's just blood libel. So Don Serling is not good for the Jews. I mean, what kind
Don
of
is not good
license
for the
is he
Jews.
telling about?
That's where I was going with
know,
this.
What's he saying? I mean, first of all,
No,
something-
Don didn't say they do that in Israel. The commenters about Don on the website that I was looking at said, well, of course they treat blacks like dogs in Israel. They dose women with some drugs so they won't have kids because they don't want too many blacks.
That's ridiculous.
It certainly sounds ridiculous to me.
When last time I was
But you
in
know
Israel,
more than me when it comes to Israel.
Well, yeah, and I know there's a lot of misinformation on the subject.
Well, there certainly is.
I mean, last time I was in Israel, first of all, what people don't realize, Israel's the #1 destination in the Middle East for Africans. All of Africa is freaking an
Well,
uprising,
yeah.
a revolution. And where do those people want to go? They don't go to Saudi Arabia, my friend.
Do they try and get kicked out or they go straight to Israel?
They go up to Egypt and they go.
Yeah.
They try to get to Europe. I mean, where are you going to go? You're either going to Europe or east to Israel. I mean, you're not going to go to the Arab world, and there's nowhere else to go.
Is there? Now, I know nothing about what I'm talking about. Let me preface this.
I'm
'cause
going to give you
newly-
the floor then.
I like to talk about things I know, but I'm just stuff I read yesterday that I know nothing about and it came as a surprise to me. Is there prejudice against Sephardic Jews in Israel?
Yes.
How does that manifest itself?
Well, first of all, let's
I mean-
just preface it by saying there's prejudice against everyone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everyone is prejudiced. Black people are racist, okay? Not all of them, not as a people, but
On individual
individuals
cases,
are racist,
right,
right?
right.
It's possible,
Everybody
Jews
has their-
are racist,
everybody
right?
has their prejudices.
Gay people are racist. It's
And
like
my dog is prejudiced.
right, and so in
It's
Israel,
cats.
in the old days, what happened was Israel. The founders of Israel were of a Eastern European
Ashkenazi?
extraction. They were Ashkenazi.
Like us.
They're from Russia, Ukraine, Poland. They established the kibbutzim, which were communes, so they were socialist mentality, and their leadership, men like Chaim Weizmann and David Ben-Gurion, great men, great, absolutely like the George Washingtons of Israel, right? But they had an elitist view of what the country should be, and they thought it should be like a bastion of thinkers and artists and sort of the visionary, the intellectual philosopher, farmer,
like college,
right? That exactly. That's the whole utopian view of things, And then there was another faction which I more identified with, which was much more of a right wing point of view, but they were holistic, and they believed that all the people of Israel are one, which would include the Arab Jews who were come from Arab countries who were a coarser, less educated.
But we had just gotten the
frank.
crap beat out of us, and we were looking for refuge, right?
No, this is before. I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about like World War One and shortly after.
Told you I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right. So anyway, the point is, there was an intellectual elite that controlled the Jewish colonial movement in Palestine before World War II, and they were a little snobby.
Yeah.
And then there was a huge influx of Jews, what you call Sephardi's, but they're really not Sephardi's. They're Eastern Jews that came from Iraq and Yemen, and they came from North Africa, and they came from Syria, Lebanon, Turkey, and Afghanistan, Turkmenistan. They came from Muslim countries, okay? And so they were culturally very Jewish than the European Jews. Culturally very different. Right? And yeah, there's lots of prejudice and bigotry, and it persists to this day, right? Just like in America. America was a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant country.
Indeed it was.
Ruled by wasps of Anglo, meaning English, or Dutch, Protestant, and Germanic extraction.
Right.
And then in the, 1800s, we had a huge influx of Southern European or Irish people being Catholics.
Right.
Okay. Do you know the biggest resurgence in the Ku Klux Klan in this country ever to occur was after the immigration of masses of Catholic people?
Yeah, they didn't like Catholics.
They hated Catholics.
They hate everyone except themselves.
Some argue that John F. Kennedy was assassinated because he was Catholic.
Oh yeah,
I'm not going for that, but I'm just saying.
I've heard that one too, but I don't find it plausible. I go mafia when it comes to GFtJ.
I'm just saying prejudice is everywhere. Are white Americans prejudice against white Americans? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Protestant Catholic rift is huge. England fought wars and wars with those
I'll tell you what,
for years.
Dawn dragging Israel into it, not good for the Jews.
No, it's not good for the Jews. But that's an indication of things to come.
Yeah, well, and I was, it's funny, until I Googled it, I was watching all this stuff, I'm like, I bet he's Jewish, and I'm really happy no one said anything yet.
They will.
They've referred to him as an old white man over and over.
Right. Well, as they're being politically correct.
Right.
Because once they start saying he's
someone
Jewish,
might be taping them.
If you say, right,
who knows?
That's true. If you say, an old white man, then you've got the, there's already all this public disaffection
for
with, the old
people will
white
throw white,
man, right? The 1%. You're the 1% that run this whole world, this whole country. The Illuminati, the Bilderbergs.
People were.
So he fits into that conspiracy. Once you say he's Jewish, what you're doing is you're excusing all the old white men, and now you're pitting the tail on the Jewish donkey, and you're going to be racist and anti-Semitic and all that for a while until people start accepting that.
Agreeing with you, yeah. It's been kind of amazing to me, and I make the mistake of reading comments online. I'll read a story, then you read the comments.
It's good to read them. Don't make them. You'll be all day long.
Never go down that wormhole. There's plenty of wormholes go down. And I worry that someday when this podcast has 100,000 listeners, I'll read comments and get mad.
Oh, you'll be furious.
Probably. Every podcast I listen to, they're like, don't read the comments. But it's amazing. Reading the comments, it just cracks me up how if someone does something publicly stupid, they become a cipher by which everyone can throw everything they hate at. It took 3 or 4 comments. Shoot, that's my car, but I'm not going to answer it.
We could pause.
Nah, it's fine. You can just leave a message.
You're committed.
To my car?
No, to this program.
Better believe it, man.
Woo!
Yeah.
I got shivers.
I can always go get my car.
When Larry refuses a call, that means he's engaged in something very important.
Indeed. Same super left-wing site, 4 comments down after they said he was Jewish. He's Republican.
Right.
We have no idea. Typical Republican.
Right. Yeah, he's probably a Freemason, too.
Right, he's all this terrible stuff. Now, the guy who is the commissioner of basketball, who basically excommunicated him, also Jewish.
Right. Is he going to get, that the Jew who heads the NBA,
Jews, a bunch of Jews. This is between Jews.
That is one wise Jew who knows where his alignment ought to be, and stood up for the right side. No. Is he going to get credit for being a Jew? No. Is he even? No. Are they even going to mention that he's white?
Well,
probably
and
they won't even be so white. He was
really good. Well, and it was his first. He's new.
Uh-huh.
And before him, the last guy lasted 40 years, also Jewish. But Jewish in a way that I think people didn't like so much. Kind of...
like in what way do
condescending
they ever like
and kind of smug and smarter than everybody else. Smarmy Jew,
right, that guy.
lawyery.
Yeah.
But this guy, no, they're never going to... That's why, and this may as well be our topic, whether or not this whole event is good or bad for the Jews. So far, it's looking pretty bad for the Jews, because I don't think there will be a time... If Commissioner Adam Silver, nice Jewish name, if his Jewishness is ever acknowledged, it will be, this is between Jews. There they go, those Jews.
Right,
See, they run everything.
You got two Jews running everything, and they can't agree on
ultimately,
anything.
The Jews get to have the final say on our futures.
Hey, man, if you don't like it, do a better job yourself, and then maybe you can be in a position of authority. That's my whole thinking.
Well, and so, but
did the Jew come in with a gun and shoot up all his opposition to get the job, or did he rise to the level of commissioner because of his merits?
Well, but if you bring that up, I mean, then there's also the argument against that is, well, the Jew was given opportunities. That the reason why there's not a black commissioner is because no one was given the opportunity to be in a position to rise to that level.
Au contraire.
The head of the players' union is a black guy.
I don't think Jews were given anything. And I don't mean to condescend to my fellow Americans who've struggled, but opportunity was given to black Americans in the form of affirmative action. And that we explicitly, as a society and a nation, chose to create opportunity in recognition of the fact that these people were kept back. That didn't happen to Jews.
And by the way, it was much further in the past, in the 1970s, when the Harvard president proposed to limit the number of Jews at Harvard to 10%.
That's bad for the Jews.
But it did happen.
Right.
I think it was in the 19th century.
Just read that's the Jewish mentality. We talk about this all the time. I think it would be good for everyone else if I were to cut off my arm. Larry, why'd you cut off your arm? I felt like doing something good for humanity.
Well,
how did cutting off your own arm serve humanity? I don't know, but I was compelled to do something good, and I knew it meant I should suffer and sacrifice personally.
That's my argument for why no Jewish president, because none of us would vote for him.
I wouldn't vote for a Jewish president.
Why? Wouldn't it just depend on the guy?
Because he's going to be a dickhead. I mean, who's it going to be? Lieberman?
I wouldn't have voted for Lieberman, but I don't know. I mean, I got no one to choose from.
Okay, look, if Bill Clinton were Jewish, I'd vote for a Jewish president.
Totally.
Okay?
Yeah, but he wouldn't have been Jewish. He wouldn't have been Bill Clinton.
He was close. He was so close, man. He was like everything.
I miss him.
The first black Jewish gay president, smoking
Mom.
pot, philandering,
I miss him.
Yeah.
I know.
Now, would I vote for a Jewish president? Yeah, I'd vote for a Jewish president.
I mean, I would vote for him if he was a good candidate, but I think a lot of people,
I'll vote for him,
that we have come across would categorically not vote for him just to show that they're not favoring Jews.
I always, my rationale, my criteria for voting for a president's always the same. I vote for the person that actually represents me. I don't care their party, their gender, anything. And I've been voting libertarian for the last couple of years. And that's because I believe in the platform, and I think that's the direction our country should go in. Do I think the leaders who run for president are capable of actually running this country? No, they're all nobodies.
Yeah, I totally respect that vote. You know what I always end up trying to do? And this is awful because, well, essentially I have no political core, like no core beliefs. So I usually end up voting.
Makes it easy.
Yeah, I usually end up voting for the guy who seems the cleanest.
Well,
like during the recall, the California recall, you know who I voted for?
Who?
Peter Ubroth.
Peter Ubroth, baseball guy.
Yeah, because he seemed the cleanest. Hey, nice!
So, that's really interesting.
There was a guy, I forget what he was running. It might have been the same time, but he was not really extreme guy that I did not agree with. But I almost voted for him because he seemed really clean, which means I'd probably vote for Hamas.
Yeah, well, if you consider, like human shields and bursting into the UN camps and
maybe not.
The parties
yeah, okay. There's different kinds of corruption, I guess.
Yeah, I heard Jesse Ventura give a speech once to the Georgetown graduating class, Georgetown University graduating, This was like 10, 15 years ago on TV.
It would have to have been.
I was so impressed by him.
Jesse?
Like, I thought he was just a big joke until I heard him speak. And he said something that struck with me. He said, my dad was a simple man, had a high school education, but he understood that anyone running for president is inherently corrupt. Dad, why would you say such a thing?
My dad said
He goes,
that too.
because how does a man spend $100 million to get a job that pays $100,000 a year? And then you think about it. So you're saying you want to vote for the guy who's clean?
I do.
They can't be clean.
Well, they
How
could
can
be.
you go through the mud in the filthiest business on earth and come out clean?
I know, and that's because of how you have to raise money to do it, and how no one can say what they really think.
No, it's not only that. It's money. It's true. Money's a problem, but there's another issue as well.
What, megalomania?
No, politics is all about the art of the compromise.
Yeah, it's true.
If you've got integrity and you're committed, then how can you succeed in politics? You have to compromise, which means you have to dilute.
But you could have personal integrity. You could know how to compromise and have personal integrity.
I suppose it's possible in theory. Can you name one person in the political scene who's got it?
I'm going to put myself out here. I'm going to get hammered. What do you think of Jerry Brown?
Yeah, I think he's got integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a good example. I think he's a doofus. Not a doofus. I think he's a very intelligent man. I think he's a good politician. I don't always agree with him. I never voted for him, but
I don't agree with him much either, but I really like him.
Yeah, he's okay.
He does some stuff where I'm just like, oh boy, come on, Jerry.
Well, I'll tell you what I like about Jerry, okay? I think he's thoughtful. I think he's actually looking at now, as governor, he's like, okay, we got a problem, and we're constrained by law, and we understand what everyone wants. Okay, so he thinks it all through. We understand the whole dynamic of the situation. Now let's think of what we can do, what's doable. And when he commits to taking action, he's not saying, well, as a member of this party, or as a so liberal, or as a whatever, I am supposed to have this vision and take this path. I think he's actually sitting down like a technocrat should, and saying, what can I do?
He kind of enjoys it, which is kind of what Clinton did too. Like, he enjoyed doing that crap. And
I'm totally in favor of technocratic government. I want competent managers who understand the rule of law to run the country, and not ideologues.
Because I think at least our last two presidents were in way over their head.
The one before the current president was a complete doofus. That guy was a boob.
He never wanted to be president. He just wanted to be commissioner of baseball.
So why'd he run?
Family pressure.
Oh, bullshit, man. He embarrassed his
family. Either way, he was in way over his head. What did you think of Bush a week after 9/11?
I thought he reacted appropriately.
I did too. I thought he's a great wartime president, and as time went on, I went, oh, maybe not.
Well, but then he turned around and he attacked Afghanistan and Iraq.
Right, that's what I mean.
And that was like a huge mistake. I mean, I saw right at that moment, like, I'm not saying it's a mistake to attack Iraq. Screw them. I don't give a, you know what I mean? I don't care. I have no sympathy for them.
Iraq.
But
I'm sorry.
But I mean, just practically speaking,
I thought Bush was really good at responding angrily to that event.
Yeah,
you know, he didn't say, "Well, you need to understand." Like, he said what we wanted to hear.
Well, he's very much representative of a portion of the American people, the way they think and look at the world and whatnot. But to be president, you've got to be wise. You have to execute wise.
You can't be reacting. You can't be Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, you can't be stupid. Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, okay, we attack Iraq. That's fine. He had a score to settle with them. But when you get there and you topple their government, don't destroy all of their institutions and leave a power vacuum. This is the Middle East. If Oliver Stone was correct, and if this was a plot by these imperialists to seize control of the oil and political, the movie George, the movie W.
I don't know. I don't give him. Oliver Stone hasn't gotten my money since JFK.
Really? Well,
he doesn't need my money. He's just going to spend it on cocaine and scarves.
Well, he's in Hollywood. Let him. What do you care?
Reprehensible man. Not that I know him. I'm just saying this based on.
I'm not saying. I don't care for him one way or the other.
Actually,
I'm saying the movie W is a good movie.
Yeah.
And it suggested that there was an imperialist plot by the one percenters who ruled our government, the neocons. And they wanted to seize control of the Middle East and control.
You know what would be the most shocking thing to me in my lifetime? If Oliver Stone made a movie about Obama.
Okay, my point is this. I will not be. I'll get to that.
You're not going to get sucked into that?
Well, I will, but in time. My point is this. If George W. Bush, if that's what he was doing, was a plot, then he should have executed it properly. We should have seized control of the oil fields, siphoned off their oil, issued the rebuilding contracts to all American companies, set up a puppet government, and ruled.
You think that would fly in this day and age?
Yes. If that's what he set out to do, we should have done it. And if that's not, we shouldn't have destroyed their whole country. We should just stay the hell out and say,
what if he only set up half a plot?
That's what he did. Half a plot. Destroy the country and then let it be a screwed up mess.
He was just, and it seems like it was just motivated by, it was kind of vengeful. And like, this Saddam seems like a really bad guy.
He's bad. We hate him.
I remember at the time, though, thinking like,
we can get away with it.
But I remember at the time thinking like, okay, he's not a threat. He's just like a little penny ante dictator over there. But
no,
what if there's a suitcase full of nuclear stuff in Denver?
Look, he was a threat immediately after
sense?
George. Yeah, right. What if he blew up a little terrorist with a nuclear bomb?
Yeah, that's all it would take.
Right. So I mean, he was a threat. Look at when George Herbert Walker Bush, George Bush Sr.
Yeah.
You know what happened was, you had Reagan, then you had all of a sudden Gorbachev, and then the Berlin Wall came down. Communists ended. USSR split apart. You know, dramatic end of apartheid. South Africa, Tiananmen Square in China. Wow, the world is reeling. You know, change of regimes in Latin America. The world's reeling. George Bush steps forward and says, "We're going to have a new world order. Okay, the world is changing."
That's such an unfortunate.
And there's going to be a new
way
world
to
order. Right? And you could be looking for a kinder, gentler America in this new world order because things are going to change, right? And then Saddam Hussein saw there's a power vacuum, invaded Kuwait, what I believe was thinking, hey man, if I can get Kuwait's oil and add it to my oil, with my army, I'm going to rule the whole Middle East. And so it was right to resist him. And I thought George Bush did a good... It was very bad for the Jews. And George Bush Sr. did a good job in resisting and correcting that. And that's why Saddam Hussein wasn't a petty dictator. Okay? Fast forward to now, the Iranians are trying the exact same play. The only thing is they're smart enough not to evade anyone. They're using proxies.
You know what sucks, though? And I am, again, talking out of my butt. And it's amazing that it sounds like my regular voice, but...
Which makes me think, how are you...
My impression is that... I don't want to use the term the Iranians because I think what we're seeing is the Iranian leadership. Like I've always heard that the street Iranians are actually pretty cool. And
yeah, who'd you hear that from?
You know, like Details magazine and
right. There's 78 million people in Iran, and they talk to
that horrible story about the band that came to New York, the Iranian band, and then one of them went crazy and killed everyone. And
see, those are great guys.
No, we
were hanging out, we were partying until he killed everyone. We were having a great time,
man. Thing. I don't hold it against him, though.
It's not his fault. He came from a bad place. He was underprivileged. Let
me ask you this.
What?
We had this discussion either last week or the week before about how intent doesn't matter. If someone gave, like if the evangelicals are good for the Jews because of their support of Israel, even if they only support Israel hoping that Christ will come back, right? What if Donald Sterling gave millions of dollars to Israel? Is he then good for the Jews?
Well, he's certainly good for Israel.
Yeah, but he still wouldn't be good for the Jews, dragging us through the mud like this.
It wouldn't be good for the Jews. No, well, let's be clear on what it means when we talk about intent, right? Intent doesn't change the impact of an action. So if you do a good deed, and it has a good impact, it doesn't matter what your intention was. Similarly, if you do a bad deed, you harm someone, it doesn't matter whether you intended to or not.
No,
the harm won't go away because because of the intent. However, when you have to decide, like in a court of law, did someone commit a crime?
Exactly.
You look at their intent.
That was my point. Yeah.
So we can't say intent doesn't matter. So when I say intent didn't matter in last episodes, what I'm meaning is it doesn't matter what your intentions were. If you cause good by your actions, the good will stand as a good regardless of what you meant to do. That's like when, what's his face in the Bible? He went down to curse the Jews, and God put words in his mouth, and the guy said, "How goodly are your tents, O Israel, your dwelling places." And he's like, "What did I just say?"
That's a song, right?
And his friend says to him, he says, you just praised the Jews. He said, "I meant to curse them." Well, you meant to curse them, but you accidentally came out and praised them, and they heard it. So,
well, he certainly wasn't the last person to have that problem, huh?
Who else had it?
Oh, I'm sure lots of people tend to.
I thought you were someone in particular.
No, no one in particular. Right. You know what I was thinking, because I'm still stuck on Donald Sterling.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's good.
All that we just talked about in 1991, the invasion of Kuwait and the war, probably earned itself a tenth of the media airtime that the last 4 days have. devoted to Donald Sterling.
Well, think in 1991, what were your news outlets?
I know, CNN.
CNN,
In
Time
fact,
Magazine,
was that
Newsweek.
was that war what made CNN? Like, was that the first time when all of a sudden our local stations had the CNN feeds too?
That could be.
Or was it something else?
We were talking about when they had headline news. It was 24
Yeah, like
hours
all of a sudden
half-hour
we
news
only
broadcasts
like.
repeated over
I
and
remember
over.
there being a certain time when an event that signaled the end of getting my news from my local stations.
Yeah, it could be.
And then what was the end of getting your news from TV? What event
I
was
never
that?
watch TV news,
Yeah.
except for CNN.
I actually do watch local news. I really like it.
It is interesting now because of the way it fits into the
Yeah.
whole, panoply of news sources. Look, my point when I said, where'd you get your news, is this. There is probably a million times more information being broadcast now, given the internet and other channels, than you had in 1991.
Right.
So if all attention is
Absolutely.
on this guy, so much of it is just babble of people whose opinions don't really matter.
Like me.
And me.
Yeah.
Well,
Except that that's why
your
my
opinion
mom
matters to
is-
me, my friend.
And likewise.
Thank
and to
you.
my mom, who is dutifully listening.
We love you, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Sorry I didn't... Well, I did call last week. You weren't there.
Oh, don't
No,
Mom,
she wasn't there. They
don't
go...
pull that on
No,
Mom.
they go on these trips and they take pictures. They're photographers.
Mom doesn't have a cell phone.
Yeah, Mom. I'm not gonna,
If you wanted to reach Mom, you'd call
That's
Mom,
true.
not Mom's house. You would call her person.
that's interesting, though, because hardly ever do I call her cell phone. They don't. I never even think of them. I don't even know if my dad has a cell phone.
Right, because you want to talk to Mom when she's in the comfort of home, because you see Mom as being part of the whole home experience.
Ah.
You can't think of Mom as the woman out in the world with the camera on safari expedition. That action Mom
Well, she
intimidates
said,
you.
if I didn't, she sent me a picture with her. With their both have the photography vests,
Yeah.
they can, which I don't understand why you would have a photography vest now, because you don't have film.
Yeah, but you got lens caps,
That's
and
true.
lenses,
Lenses,
and lights, and
lens-
extra batteries, and cables, and tripods, and your
Yeah.
little automatic, cable to, you press the button. and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
sing, right.
A lot of stuff.
And now this electronics, they have remote controls.
Even
right?
though my neighbor, 2 houses down, takes the most unbelievable pictures I've ever seen in my life with his iPhone.
Really, I believe it.
Yeah, he is because he sweats art. Art flows
You know
from
something?
him like sweat.
First of all, I heard Jay Blakesberg. You know Jay, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I heard Jay Blakesberg on the radio the other day talking
Wow.
about photography, and it's in
Yeah.
a book. And what was really cool was when I tuned in, he was talking about the art of photography and what it means to capture an image. And,
Yeah.
and you know what? He was like, I always liked Jay, but I got a whole new respect for him when he was speaking. So
What
you know,
station were you listening to there?
NPR.
It was on
Michael
NPR?
Krasny show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You listen to NPR.
In the car.
Yeah.
When I'm not listening to CDs, I'll listen to that.
Huh.
So
Surprises me.
what he said basically is, the photo is like the photographer is got to be sort of passive and just capture that moment in time when all the stars align and the image tells a whole story. And that's really just about framing it right and capturing that second. You can do it with an iPhone.
Well, and I think and that's what's amazing about my neighbor. He takes pictures. If we took a picture of the same thing, mine would look like a snapshot, and his would look like art.
Right.
And that's because I think these guys just walk around seeing that stuff.
They see
composition.
They look at the light, and the
Yeah.
shadows, the reflection, the framing, and how the trees create the boundary. And if I just
Right.
write it,
And I don't even think they probably... Well, he sounds like he can put it into words, but it's probably something that's so natural to them that they couldn't teach it to someone.
I don't know. I think he's got lots of students.
Oh, does he?
And he was a student.
Oh, he could teach him how to take good pictures, but he couldn't teach him that innate talent.
Right. You can't teach talent. Definitely not. But you
Yeah.
can cultivate talent.
Not to blow my own horn, but I can't teach grammar, and I don't hardly ever, except maybe
Yeah.
verbally.
But
screw
you
things up
could probably
grammatically.
look at someone's writing and give them lots of pointers about how to make
I
it
could, but I
pop.
couldn't tell him why. I could say, change that to that, change that to that.
Right, I
I've
understand.
tried.
Yeah, I
I've
understand.
tried.
You know what? I play music with a guy like that. It's
Oh.
very frustrating because he's a total master
It's like a sort of
musician.
savant thing?
Yeah, he's like a savant. Plays that,
Yeah.
and I'm self-taught. I'm sort of
Yeah,
clunky
I'm
banky.
campfire level myself.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like asking him, it's like, come on, man, we're like playing together for like ever. Just, give me some pointers, give me something.
Sure.
Give me some. And then what I realized is he can't.
Right.
Like when I sit down to play, it's like when I'm teaching my kid to drive. Oh, don't do. What are you playing that? You playing it B flat? You're playing with the guitar. It's playing E. It's like he can't say, okay.
Even driving, that's an interesting you bring it up, because even driving, having just spent the last year not really teaching, I guess teaching my kid to drive because they don't learn in school, I realize how much is instinctual after 32 years of driving,
Yeah.
you know, and how much like I can predict what's going to happen in 30 seconds. And then
you're gonna hit that car.
Right, that guy's going to pull out. That guy's going to.
Yeah,
and the kids,
exactly.
like, they have no instincts.
Right.
They're just going.
Right. Well, I mean, when you're coaching a driver like that, you're doing two things. Mostly saying, "Don't do that. Don't do that."
Right.
You're too close. You're not. You're getting close to the left. You didn't signal.
And
you
mostly
know.
tensing up.
Right.
The other
Right.
thing.
Brake.
Yeah.
Brake. Why you're going too slow?
What are you doing?
Right. But then the other thing is you're offering the insights, like you just said. You know what? You can't see around the corner that we're going around. So slow down.
Right.
You know, you see how the light flickers and it kind of blinds you for a second. You need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
When you,
like, I can't wait till he has those instincts. It'd be cool, like, to see someone start to acquire those instincts.
he will acquire it in like 3 days. Snap.
Well, according to him, yeah.
That's all it takes.
I know, it doesn't take very long. Which is, I guess, a bad analogy because that's completely different than my neighbor walking down the street and seeing composition and me not. I can't acquire that.
Well, but then again, most people are driving cars like, the car's made for the masses. But then again, there are,
there's no way to drive across town 4 times a day like I do and not hate everyone.
Oh, well, this town too. It's
unbelievable.
driving across town's miserable.
Yesterday, I'm stopped at this stoplight, all backed up, and someone's turning right, and that's why we're backed up. And there's cars, and everything's messed up, and I'm in the front. All of a sudden, this guy pulls up next to me. He's just going to go to the front. Unfortunately for him, in my mind, he's got a beard. He's got earbuds. He's driving a Prius.
He's got a plaid
and he's
shirt.
got a zip drive hanging from his rearview mirror.
You're like,
where are you
screw
going?
man.
Totally. Like, you got nothing. You are Donald Sterling behind the wheel to me. Everything you've done leads up to this moment.
Oh, man.
You are not good for the Jews.
Yeah, you're going to get it, mister.
I know. It's terrible, though, but if I could just not have to do that, drive. I did it 4 times one day this week because my child forgets things. Anyways, we're getting kind of close to the end, and we've been talking about Donald Sterling like everyone else in the world, and I think there's no conclusion to come to other than that he's bad for the Jews.
Bad for the Jews.
In so many ways, and this whole situation is bad for the Jews, if only because I didn't know before last week that there are 6 Jewish owners of NBA teams. Now I do, because someone thought to point that out.
Well, why is that bad for the Jews? That's good for the Jews.
I guess it's good for the Jews, except when it's used in context and there's no African-American owners of NBA teams.
Well, that's the African Americans' problem, isn't it?
So so when they force him to sell his team, should they make sure an African-American consortium buys it?
Well, I think that's their business, but I think, it's like...
Because there's definitely cause for that.
Well, that's, in the NBA, that's their business. I don't care. I would say... My first reaction is if you are looking for a person of a particular racial background to join your business community, it's probably discriminatory. But I don't really care. Yeah,
well,
man,
sure,
they want to have a black guy owning a team. There's plenty of black owners out there.
Sure.
People
Floyd
would like
Mayweather,
to.
Magic.
Yeah, exactly. These big sports.
There's
guys,
already a couple groups that have stepped up.
If they got the money, let them.
It is,
I don't care.
it is by definition discriminatory. And I have a little problem. Not understanding, just dealing with that, because by definition that is discriminatory. When you single out someone, it's discriminatory, right? But can it also be necessary?
If you deny one protected class of people an opportunity and give that opportunity to the other member of the protected class, that's discriminatory. You're discriminating based on race, which is illegal.
But what if you're discriminating as a reaction to a lot of discrimination before that? If they're saying, well,
like I said, with
they've never been given a chance to buy a team before, so we're going to make sure this time it's these guys.
Yeah, well, that's why I say it's like I don't really care. It's like, hey, if you got the NBA where there's so many of the players are black,
right,
and so many of the so much of the talent is black, don't you want us? And blacks are so well represented in sports, don't you want to see them to become owners and have them be in leadership positions? I mean, you got to acknowledge there's a limited number of leadership positions. There's a limited number of
and there's certainly way
slots.
more black coaches than there used to be, but all the fans still white.
I'll put it this way: it doesn't, as a Jew. And as an American, it doesn't cost me anything. It has no impact on me for there to be a black NBA team owner. And I could see how having a black NBA team owner would make everyone feel good, especially the blacks. So was it hurt? No harm, no foul.
Right, no harm, no foul. So
what do I care?
So so in this case...
Be gesund!
What was the term you used? Shonda for the Goyim?
Shonda for the Goyim.
I read that so many times yesterday after I Googled Donald Sterling Jewish, because all the Jewish publications were distancing themselves from him before anyone had a chance to
right. I think,
make the connection.
If the people are still hung up on this whole idea, one bad apple spoils a whole bunch, you expect him to be representative of the whole people.
Well, but people certainly are hung up
idiots.
on that. Why else would they use that idiot guy in Nevada, that rancher guy?
Oh yeah,
as like an indictment for all Republicans.
Because people are stupid when they do that. I don't,
Obviously, they all agree with this guy.
I'm like, what the hell do you care what some cowboy hick has to say? It's like, who is he? Isn't he some guy who basically took his cattle and put them on public lands and is refusing to pay the grazing fees and trying to turn it into some political?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a libertarian, right? I've made that clear.
Yeah.
Is that clear? You got it all? Yeah. You still have to follow the law, right? You're not permitted to just say, oh, this public land that's administered by the federal government, for all intents and purposes, is actually mine, and I will use it.
Which is ironic, because isn't it a very San Francisco thing to not follow the squares laws? It's similar.
Well, no, because in America and in San Francisco, there's a tradition of not following laws that are considered unjust.
Oh, I think they're just stupid.
Now, not following laws because you think they're stupid is illegal. I happen to think that...
I don't think leash laws are unjust.
Right. So, but if they exist, they exist. And if you break the law, you're breaking the law. And if you get a ticket from a cop, you pay the ticket.
Never get tickets for that.
Right. So, because no one really gives a darn about it.
But I mean, if I had a 2-year-old and got attacked by a dog not on a leash, I'd care.
Hey, I had that. I was taking Prima for a walk up at Fort Funston once. She's like 7 or 8. And... It was an odd occasion where I just happened to be carrying a retractable police baton. Not exactly sure what.
I thought you said it was an odd occasion.
And you have this, and like we're walking along sunny day, and out of nowhere this dog comes charging up and snapping and biting. She jumps out of her skin, and I just had like the natural reaction that any parent would have. Right, I produced my baton and waved the dog. I didn't hit the dog.
Yeah, but you must have gotten it from the dog's owner.
No, the dog's owner was amazingly respectful.
Oh, good.
He sort of said something like, you're allowed to have dogs off leash here. I said, your dog just about bit my kid. And he kind of looked at me, looked at the baton and said, you're right.
He said,
I'm sorry. And he took
sized
his dog
it up
and he went away.
Insane person, I'm going to just slink away.
Right. He said, my dog is unable to protect me against the man with the police baton. But I thought, the man with the police baton is able to protect my daughter against the dog and his owner.
So police baton trumps dog.
Police, usually.
Usually.
Because there's those guys with those big pit bulls.
Yeah.
Big pit bull.
You'd have to swing that thing a lot to take down a pit bull.
Yeah.
Or a Presa Canario, which were those dogs.
What are those?
Those were those dogs. Oh man, we got to bring that back. Well, it's not timely, and we're out of time. But those were the dogs that killed the person that the 2 crazy people owned in Pacific Heights.
They
were Jewish.
Really?
Yeah, they were.
But they were bad people.
They were bad.
The dogs
for
killed the
Jews.
lesbian.
Yeah,
lady.
yeah, and they were bad people.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got to wrap it up.
All right,
we're way
show.
over. Good show.
It's been
good day hiding down here from the heat in the Twilight Lounge.
Ding.
Mom, Sam, Kimmel, thanks as always. We'll see you next time.
Be it your brother.